Welcome to another video. Today is going to be a fun one because we finally got some news on Street Fighter, the movie, the live action movie. And, when Street Fighter 6 first was announced, I think at the beginning, um, the dev said that there was a possibility that there might be a Street Fighter movie. So I was excited about that. Then it got postponed or something, or I guess the directors got changed up or something. And now, we got a couple of actors that have been mentioned. And I don't know if this is rumors or if it's for real, but it's an okay list. I don't have much to say about most of these. It's not like the best list. Me personally, I'm actually gonna give you guys a couple of changes or who would I pick. There's only two here that I would not change, and I think they're pretty good picks. But everybody else, I would personally choose, other actors or actresses to make the experience more better in my opinion. But the first guy we got here, his name is Andrew Koji, which is the guy that's gonna play Ryu. And Andrew Koji, what I know him for is two things. One of them is a TV show called I forgot the name, but he's supposed to be it's a western with Asians in it, which is actually a thing that was a thing back in the day. A lot of people think that there wasn't Asians, but there was a lot of Asians in the old West, especially Chinese people and Mexicans and African Americans. There was a lot of, and of course Native Americans. Um, it wasn't just white cowboys, but anyways, the show, I forgot the name of it. I think it's called damn, I forgot. But the other thing I know him for is Snake Eyes, the G.I. Joe movie that came out, I believe, last year. It was not that good. Personally, not a big fan of that movie, Snake Eyes. But I have my opinion on Koji. I mean, he wouldn't be my first pick for Ryu. Um, the other thing about it is, I'm a little confused into what they're going for. Are they gonna go for um, like an older Ryu or a younger Ryu? Because what I'm looking at here, Ryu and Ken, they don't look the same age. Ryu here looks much older. The actor that's gonna play Ryu looks much older than the actor that's gonna play Ken, who, by the way, his name is Noah Cantino or Cantinoe. I don't know. He has like an either Italian or Spanish last name, and I don't really know him that much. I don't know his career of movies or anything like that. I really don't know. But he doesn't look bad as Ken. You know. The other thing, Ken is not a real blonde. So I know there's people that are very picky on, oh, he has to be a blonde, or he has to be white, or he has to be half Asian, which Ken is half Asian. He's half Asian and half I believe German, if I'm not mistaken. And he dyes his hair blonde, um, but his natural hair is actually black or brunette. Um, and also, moving on here to the girl that's gonna play Chun Li. Let me see if her name is Kalina Liang. Um, and I have nothing to say about that. I don't know who she is, but I think she's pretty good. I mean, she looks really good as Chun Li. I have really no gripes about that. Her being chosen for this role. The other thing is, when it comes to Asian actresses, I really don't have much to pick from. Maybe I'm ignorant in the matter, but I was kind of looking for other options, and I couldn't really find a better options than what they had. And yeah, she looked good. She looks like a perfect fit for Chun Li actually. Um, and Jason Momoa, who really needs no introduction, is going to play, or at least is rumored to play Blanca. Um, Blanca is a, I guess he's like kind of like a Sasquatch character. Kind of like an animal. Really, he's not really human. Um, and or maybe or is he? Maybe he's half human. I don't know, because he does have a mother. So you start thinking about Blanca. Blanca is a weird case because he's a half human and his mom is just human. And then you start thinking, maybe his mama got freaky with her. I mean, that's just me. That's what I think. I don't know. Uh, anyways, yeah, Jason Momoa is fine. I personally wouldn't pick Jason Momoa. Um, like I said, I have my own list that I'm gonna talk about here in a little bit, but he's fine. He's fine. I would personally use Jason Momoa for like someone like T Hawk or even Akuma. But for Akuma, we actually got a wrestler, who I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Roman Cages or something like that. Cajanes. Uh, I'm gonna ruin a lot of these people's last names. And I'm not doing it on purpose. Um, he's a wrestler, all right, and I think he's being picked for his size and his just menacing nature. And I think that's one of the mistakes, in my personal opinion, that a lot of the recent portrayals of Akuma have done, where they want to make this towering beast. And the reason for that is because of the famous Street Fighter Alpha artwork, um, by, I don't know if it was Bangus, or it probably wasn't Bangus, probably um, another guy, um, but yeah, that famous Street Fighter artwork. That's the one where Akuma seems to be towering over Ryu, and face to face against Ryu, which is very popular artwork, iconic. And every time you think about Street Fighter, or you think about Street Fighter Alpha, you think about that um, painting, and that's what they want to essentially kind of channel for the movie. And I understand that, but Akuma, for the most part, he's a short guy. He's not very tall. He's just his how can I say this? It's his aura that is tall. It's his aura that is big, but he's really short and stocky, very similar to Ryu and who else? Well, they're all pretty thick now because they're older. So, but Akuma's been older. He's always been older than Ryu and Ken. But anyways, moving on here to, and this is this guy who's gonna play Vega. Um, I know nothing about. His name is Orville Peck, and I believe he's a singer or some kind of like cabaret singer or something like that. I know nothing about it. I should have done my research on him, but this is how he looks. Actually, he wears a mask, which is pretty cool. I've always thought that singers with a gimmick are cool, you know, because they seem to like what they're doing and stuff. Now, of course, there is some musicians with gimmicks that aren't that good, and the only thing they have is a gimmick, you know, in which case, I mean, they're just playing the game the best way they can, I guess. But I know nothing about this guy. But this is the guy they chose. I'd have to look more into him, but that's not my choice. That's not what I would have chosen. But of course, moving on here to 50 Cent as Balrog. I actually have no gripes about this. You know, I have no problem with 50 Cent being Balrog. Now I haven't seen 50 Cent lately, but in the past he used to be buff. You know, he used to have you know, the fit as far as his body type to be a Balrog. Yeah, he would be perfect. Now I don't know about right now. You know, last time I saw him, he was kind of built like Rick Ross, but um, um, but like I said, there's better choices in my opinion. Like I said, I'm gonna give my list in a little bit here, but for Dan, they're picking a guy called Andrew Schulz. Again, the last names are crazy. But Andrew Schulz, he's a comedian, and I'm very familiar with him. He's a very funny guy, almost too funny. You know, the type of people that are too funny to the point to where you're like, ugh, you know, just shut up. You know, like he's that type of guy. So, needless to say, I'm not that big of a fan of his. I still like his comedy, but he's one of these guys where you need to take a break from him because he's, in my personal opinion, he's that level of funny to where it's like, not everything has to be a joke, my dude. Relax. You know, like he's that type of guy. And so I mean, I think he'll be good for it. You know, I think he'll do good at playing Dan, because Dan is arrogant. Dan thinks he's the best, but he's really not the best. And Dan thinks he thinks he's the shit. And I think Andrew Schulz, he kind of embodies that in a way. He thinks he's the best, you know. He thinks he's the funniest, and to a certain extent, he is. He has a lot of the tools, but he's just not quite there. You know, he just not quite there. And it's the same thing with Dan. Dan has all of the moves that Ryu and Ken have, but he's just not quite there. He kind of fumbles the ball a couple of times. And that's pretty much Dan. I think he'd be good. You know, a lot of people are having a problem with this pick because they don't like Andrew Schulz because of his politics. I don't let things like that get in the way of who I like and who I dislike, because I have a brain of my own, and I personally don't let my quote unquote team decide shit for me. But that's just me, you know. Anyways, moving on here to Guile. Now, Guile this is a really good pick in my opinion. I just need to remember his name. I think his name is Alan Richson, who plays who's more famous for playing Jack Reacher in the Amazon Prime TV series, I believe. Who I only saw one episode of. I personally think he was a good pick for the role of Jack Reacher, and he's a good pick for this as well. The problem is I didn't really like the show that much. You know, it was a little bit annoying, a little bit on the annoying side for me personally. Because I'm just tired of that guy. You know, the guy who deduces the situation within seconds of just looking at you, and then he looks at your shoes, and you're like, you were stomping on shit a while ago. I know by the stains on your shoe. You're also left-handed because you seem to have calluses on your hand for jerking off with your left hand. And you know, shit like that is like, bro, like, come on. Like, that's like the third character that way. You got Sherlock Holmes, you got House, you got what's the other guy? Monk, right? Psych is another one. And then this guy. So that's like, what, like 5 characters with the same ability? At a certain point, bro, everybody's that guy now, you know. But anyways, I think he's a good pick for Guile. So move on here to my 90s list, or who I would pick for if the movie was held in the 90s. And this just goes to show, for me personally, that there was a lot more talent in the 90s than there is now. Or at least there was just more like to pick from. You know, because I was having a hard time picking actors for today. And yeah, or maybe it's just that was my era, like the 90s. That was mainly where I was looking at most of the things on TV and in movies. You know, that was pretty much the era I grew up on. But yeah, for Ryu, I would pick Tak Sakaguchi. Tak Sakaguchi is a little known actor. He's not that popular. You know, I personally know him from things like Versus, things like Shadow, I think Shadow Sword or something. I forgot what it was called. But I actually have those movies, and I bought them way back in the late 90s. And I was a big fan of his. What did I see him in first? I'm trying to remember. He's also in Shinobi, a Japanese movie. So all of these movies that I just mentioned, they're Japanese movies. And you know, they're not that popular. You know, and he's not that popular. In fact, right now he's older. He doesn't look the same anymore. And I don't even know if he's still making movies or not. Because like I said, he's a Japanese actor. But that's who I would pick. You know, if you wanna see who this guy is, I would recommend, like I said, Versus. There's another movie called Shadow Sword or Shadow of the Sword, something like that, and Shinobi. You know, the Japanese movie. And he has in Shinobi, he's not really a main character. He's a side character. But in the other two that I mentioned, he's definitely the main character. But I think he would have been a good Ryu. And in the 90s, you know, mid 90s to early 90s, I believe he was acting at that time as well. Like I said, he does not look the same anymore. So if you look him up now, he does not look like that. He's a bit thicker, and you know, people just get thick. I personally would pick Keanu Reeves. I know I messed up his name too, but Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves. I mean, he needs no introduction, and I think he'd be perfect because he's pretty much kin. I mean, he's pretty much made for the character. He's half Asian. All you have to do is dye his hair. He's from California as well, I believe, which is where Ken's from as well, or at least that's where they say he's from. I don't know. I think the lore is that he's from California. So I think a young Keanu Reeves, is perfect for Ken. All he has to do is dye his hair blonde, just like Ken did. Akuma Bolo Young would be my pick. He's definitely a '90s icon. All of these are from the '90s, by the way. This is my list if it was made in the '90s. Antonio Banderas as Vega would be perfect. China Chow is an actor who, in my opinion, she didn't get as many roles as she should have. I used to think she was hot. The movie that I saw her in was the big hit, and then after that, I didn't see her in anything else. But she's perfect. I mean, and I was trying to look for other actors that could play Chun Li from the '90s, but they were just not a good fit in my personal opinion. And of course, for Balrog, I picked Wesley Snipes, and for Blanca, I picked Ron Palmer. Now, I think those are good picks in my opinion, because and I don't want to say why I'm picking Ron Palmer. He has a caveman face. That's basically the reason. He's perfect for the role. And Wesley Snipes, I mean, a lot of people are gonna say he's too small to play Balrog. I think you can make it work by just giving them some Hollywood protein. Wink, wink. Give him some Hollywood protein, and he's gonna be fine. And Dan, I would choose Steven Seagal for Dan. Why? Because Steven Seagal, he's just perfect. Me personally, I think Dan is based on Steven Seagal. That's just my opinion. Maybe he's not, but I think he is. He will be perfect, and I think a good director can make it work and make him think that it's a comedy. And because the thing about Steven Seagal is that he would probably not want to be the butt of the joke. But like I said, if you trick him into it, I don't think people with big egos, they're not hard to trick. Just give him a lot of praises and tell him he's the best, and you got him dancing like a monkey for hours. And Kurt Russell, of course, would be my personal pick for Guile for the '90s. For the '90s, of course. This is a '90s list, so I know most of these guys don't look the same anymore, and they would not be a good Street Fighter pick. Of course, in the '90s, we already know that there is a '90s Street Fighter, and it was Jean-Claude Van Damme playing Guile. But I think Russell Crowe. I mean, not is his name Russell Crowe? Yeah, Russell Crowe would be a good. No, his name ain't Russell Crowe. What is his name? Russell Crowe is the fat guy. Damn, I forgot his name. But he was in Soldier. Damn, dude, what is his name? I should have wrote it down. But anyways, yeah, he's not in my notes because I thought I was gonna remember his name. Kurt Russell, that's his name. Kurt Russell. Yeah, Kurt Russell, right? Is it his name? Kurt Russell? Fuck. But anyways, look at the movie Soldier with Kurt Russell. It's an early 2000s movie, and you'll see that he would be a perfect Guile. He's pretty good. But anyways, that is my pick. But now let's talk about what if it was my list for today. And for today, for Ryu, if it was and that's the thing. The thing, my problem is, that I don't know if they're going for a older Ryu or a young Ryu. Because I don't know what they're going for. Is it gonna be a Street Fighter 6 thing to where they have to get an older Ryu and then he's gonna be kind of going down memory lane and seeing his younger self? In which case they're gonna need an old Ryu and a young Ryu. But if they're gonna go all the way to Street Fighter Alpha, then I think they have to go with a younger cast. That's my thing. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with the whole situation. I don't know what we're going for here. The other thing to take into consideration is that actors cost money, and it's always better to go with younger actors because they're cheaper. They're getting started, and they're gonna want to go get into a project like this, because that's what gives them fame, and that's what gives them into more roles that they actually want. Because a lot of these actors, they don't really want these types of roles unless they were fans of Street Fighter. Then they might want to go in there and do it. But anyways, this guy here, he is another guy who was also in Snake Eyes, but he's the one that I would personally pick. His name is Henry Golding, and Henry Golding, I think, is a much better older Ryu. I mean, he looks just like Ryu in my opinion. He's perfect for it. And that's the other Snake Eyes. He's the actual Snake Eyes from the movie. And I would pick him personally. But if it was the younger Ryu, a Street Fighter Alpha Ryu, I would go for this guy. What's his name? Kenju? No, fucking shit. I knew I was gonna have trouble with these names, man. McKenyu, I think is his name. And McKenyu, you know him for the most recent one is and that's probably the only one I personally know from is One Piece, and he played Zoro. But I think he would make a perfect Street Fighter Alpha Ryu. That would be my pick for a younger Ryu. For Ken, it would still be, believe it or not, Keanu Reeves. I mean, what more is there to say? Keanu Reeves, you've seen the pictures of him looking like a hobo eating sandwiches, and that's just him, in his everyday. And listen, that's me too. Okay, I dress like a hobo. I'm sorry, I just do. And I think he's still perfect. I think he's still perfect to play the role. He's probably the only one on here who I picked to be Ken as a younger Ken, and I picked to be Ken as an older Ken. I think he's perfect for the role, older and even when he was young. But if there was going to be a younger Ken for now, of course we can't turn back time for Keanu Reeves. I would pick the guy from Cobra Kai. I'm trying to look for his name here. What is his name? What is this guy's name? No, that's not MC. Is his name Aaron Perry? I think that's his name, man. Listen, oh no, actually, wait. His name is Tanner Buchanan. Tanner Buchanan. Or Buchanan. Yeah. Tanner Buchanan. Damn, dude, these names. Now, this one's actually easy. Tanner Buchanan. Yeah. So that's who I would pick. The guy from Cobra Kai. I think he would be a good Ken. I think he'll be a perfect Ken. He's acting as a bit too Power Ranger, but I mean, we could get him up there. And for Chun-Li, I like their pick. I like the pick that they have. I like Kanina Lian, which is what they get and what they got. And I think that would be the best option. I really can't think of anybody else to replace her. I think they did good on that pick. For Blanca, I would pick Jonah Hill. And I mean, that's just who I would pick personally. Um, I think he'd be good. Now, would he be into it? He probably wouldn't be into it. He seems like one of these actors that wants to be a actor, and I'm above that shit, type shit. But if you could get him, he'd be a perfect Blanca, in my opinion. Um, Now for Akuma, I was looking for big Asians, like big, thick Asians. Um, and Brian T. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Would be perfect for this role, in my opinion. And we already saw her. For Vega, I would pick Jenna Ortega. Listen, I know. Okay, I understand. This is a wild pick. Okay, but Vega, you gotta understand. Vega is a feminine guy. He's very feminine. He's very beautiful. He loves his face and he thinks that he has the most beautiful face in the world. And he's almost dark in a weird way. He's not okay. And I think Jenna Ortega would be good for that. And I think you just make her, don't even say if he's a boy or a girl. Make it confusing for the audience, and just make it cool in that way. That way it kind of like confuses the people. Is that a girl? He's making me feel kind of weird. Is that a boy? Am I gay? Type shit. Like, I think it would be perfect in my personal opinion. But and this next one's probably gonna get weirder for you guys. Oh no, actually this is pretty normal. So this is he has a French name. Yeah, the Aaron Perrier, I think is his name. Alan Perrier. Now this is the guy from the movie Rebel Ridge in Netflix, which I haven't seen, but I heard that it was a really good movie, a good Netflix movie. So I think he would be a good Balrog. Um, but that's just my opinion. But of course, 50 Cent would be good too. I have no problem with 50 cents. I'm just giving you my list or my personal list of who I would pick. Um, but I mean, 50 Cent's good too. 50 Cent actually could be better. For Dan, I would pick another comedian. I have seen his show on Netflix. His stand up. Um, I'm trying to remember this dude's name. Oh yeah, Ronnie Chiang. Ronnie Chiang. That's his name. Um, Ronnie Chiang. Again, you might not like his politics, but that's what I would pick. That's why I would personally pick. But I mean, who else are you gonna pick as an actor? Um, these are probably the best actors are probably gonna be liberal. I'm sorry to say that. I mean, back in the day, we did have more um, conservative or conservative leaning type actors, and most of them were action stars. Yeah. But as of right now, I mean, that's you're probably gonna get most of them are gonna be, um, you know, liberals. And, I mean, I know that bothers a lot of people. Like, a lot of people don't watch stuff if they know that the guy is like, doing something politically that they don't like. But the reason I would pick this guy is because I think he's funny. And I think he's a good pick. But Andrew Schultz is not a bad pick either. I just think, um, yeah, I mean, either or, to be honest, would be good. Um, And I think the pick that they had for Guile is pretty good too. I don't think it's a bad pick, so that's why I didn't change them. I'll try to look for another actor, but I was like, and I think they got it right. So yeah, Chun-Li and Guile, both of those picks are perfect in my opinion. And Alan Richman, is it Richman? It is perfect. Good pick. But anyways, guys, that is gonna be it for today. That is my list of who I would pick for these roles. Of course, a lot of these guys are very popular and famous, and to make a movie like this would probably take a budget that is not affordable for a small project like this. The thing is, you always gotta, keep that in mind, that you don't want to get all big actors, big named actors, because it's gonna cost a lot of money to pay all of these guys. So, and this is part of the reason why a lot of companies, when they're gonna start a project like this, they always go for the young blood, because the young blood is a little bit more desperate, and they wanna get their foot in the door. So they'll take any project for a lower amount of money. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. This list is not bad, by the way. Their list, the one they got, their cast, that they picked, is not, it's not that bad. I